Hello, Joe. Hello, Leonie. Thanks for
Hi, Mike.
joining. Nice to see you today. Nice to see you. So remember, we're recording this today, our chat for the Zoom chat that we're having. And I thought it might be a nice idea for us to record this and to share it on YouTube. Joe, you could share it on your website and on YouTube, and Leonie as well. But we probably, rather than what we did last week where we met just to sort of chat together, we should probably introduce it a little bit because people are not going to know what the hell we're going on about. So for anyone watching, my name's Mike Jenkins, and I build websites for usually freelance practitioners. And I've just recently built a website for Joe Scott, who has a kinesiology and nutritional therapy practice. And I recently met Leonie at a group call, a Zoom group call, where Leonie was sharing some of her work as an energy medicine practitioner and offering help to people to deal with issues or problems in their lives or just using energy. And we've been meeting and talking for the past couple of weeks about how the three of us can share our perspectives on what we do in our work together. So I should just say, in addition to the website stuff that I do, for the past 10 years, I've been working with meditation and awareness and spiritual teachings to bring about positive changes in my own life. So here we are. Here's our little chat that we're going to share. And I thought, because we'd already talked about this, haven't we? It might be quite nice for us to talk about what it is that we, what's brought us to the work that we do and why it's helped us and how we think it might help others.
Brilliant.
I'll let you go, Joe. Go for it.
I'll go first, shall I? Okay. Okay, so I'm Joe Scott, and I'm a kinesiologist and a naturopathic nutritional therapist. And kinesiology, I've been practicing for the last 15 or 16 years. And I first came to it because I worked in the corporate world. I traveled like the length and breadth of the country. I would say was pretty permanently stressed, both work-wise and in my personal life, having gone through divorce and with 2 children. And I used to sort of hot-foot it around, and I used to just grab food wherever I could grab it and whatever it was. And it wasn't good. And I got to a point where I had, a lot of problems with my digestion, which I think was partly due to the way I was eating, but also due to the stress. And I was introduced to a kinesiologist and went for a treatment, and it really helped me to get back on track. But that also then led to this great curiosity that I can't bear not to know how something's happening. So I then studied kinesiology and became a kinesiologist. And I just knew that there were a lot of people out there who would benefit from kinesiology and could feel that they'd maybe been out of balance. Kinesiology is about getting people back and balanced, getting the energy balance and working with them. So it works in very many different ways, which I won't go into great depth now. So that's what brought me to kinesiology. And in kinesiology, I work with people around their nutrition, around food sensitivities, different things that were happening to them. And I found that nutrition was just so key to everything. It's just, integral to everything that happens to us. So that has then led me to study nutritional therapy. And kinesiology and the nutritional therapy really complement each other really well. They work really well together. And I just love it. And even though I know what kinesiology does, I'm still sometimes, when I'm working with people, I still go, because it still gives me that buzz. It gives me that buzz. So yeah, so that's why I do what I do. And my main thing is I just want to help people to feel the best they can, and to make a difference. And if I can do that, then I just feel that that's really worthwhile for me. That is my purpose now. So yes, that's me. So what about you, Leonie?
Amen to that. I'm here hearing you on that one, Joe, because I think, you know, going last, I've got the advantage of seeing the connection and the wonderful thread that's pulled us all together. So for me, we're all following our passion, and we all want to serve, and we all want to share our own story so other people can benefit and grow and not go through the pain and the shittiness that maybe we have. Because my story is kind of similar to you know, to yours, Mike, and to yours, Joe. I describe my life as being a drama llama and moving from one crisis to another before finally becoming conscious and realizing that I was the common denominator. I was the weakling gazelle that was always eaten by the lion. I was giving off the low vibration that said, get me, I'm the victim. You know, I cured myself from, I was told at 19 years of age that I only had a maximum of 6 months to live. So I had an acute form of leukemia. And that's where, studying psychology, I first moved away from the core psychology. I am a doctor of psychology, a doctor of clinical psychology, but I knew there was more to life than just what you see. I knew that we had the ability to heal ourselves, and I knew that modern medicine, Western medicine, modern science didn't have all the answers. And I realized, you know, as a very precocious little kid, all of my family, I've got 4 brothers, have got IQs in advance of 150. We were kind of genius kids who were sent to university at 11, that sort of bonkers background. And I knew that with our senses, what we see, hear, taste, feel, touch, is less than 1% of the real world that's out there. And I knew with energy, we are energy, the universe is energy, there was so much more we could do to look after ourselves. So I became accountable at 19. I healed myself at 19, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning every day, but I'm an energy psychologist and an energy medicine practitioner. I'm my own guinea pig, and I'm 54 years young, and I'm still here. I'm still loving it. I feel younger every single day, and I have an absolute passion and desire to share that with the world, because, you know, health, well-being, beauty and radiance are not just for rich and wealthy people who are time rich and cash rich, who can afford wealthy procedures. We have this innate intelligence, and I absolutely want to share it. So that's a brief potted history of how I came to it, but my goodness, my life has been a big uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill, until finally I've found that balance and I've found my own path. So living according to what's in here, following your passion, letting go of fear, that's me. And I just want to share how my energy movements and protocols can literally change everything in your life. All of your circumstances stay the same, but everything you see and you feel will be totally different.
Thank you. That's so exciting. And Leonie has led me through some of her energy exercises in a webinar, and they work, you know, they're really powerful. And Joe and I, in fact, work together, first of all, as colleagues in a sort of environment. But also I've worked with Joe as a patient and client of hers with kinesiology and nutrition. So similar to you, Leonie, but I was a little bit older. At age 29, I was diagnosed with mouth cancer, and that was a big shock. But what that did for me was it kind of encouraged me to face the realities of our fragility. So I used to describe it as it sort of made me start to ask all these big questions. So why are we here? You know, what's the point of all this? But it sparked off a really intense spiritual seeking within me. And then I began to read and to listen to lectures and to practice meditation. But for many, many years, and this was around the time, Joe, that you and I would have been working together, it kind of led me along this, what I've often described as a spiritual buffet, you know, like trying this technique and reading that book and every Hay House author and this one and that one, you know, and then with the internet getting bigger in the kind of mid 2000s and later on, you know, listening to teachers, watching hours of video, hours of audio. But the fascinating thing that changed for me in around about 2010 was this perspective that I came across from teachers that were sharing it. So it's stuff that's been out there for millennia, not way before our culture. But this suggestion that maybe what you're looking for isn't outside of yourself, out there, but maybe it's you, that what you're looking for is here. So this notion that nothing is missing, that everything you need, like you say, Leonie, everything you need is right here, has led me to embrace changes that have been so much more positive. So even though, like you, Leonie, my life's been really up and down, and even now still there are challenges that come and that disrupt the sort of equilibrium of life. It's not perfect all the time. But I certainly feel that since that time, since that sort of deep, it was like a deep knowing of, okay, that's what awakening is seeing seeing your own self, and coming into contact with a realm within yourself that when I do these meditations that I lead, I might call the realm of silence, or the dimension of silence, or stillness, or space, but that can't be taken away from you. And even though our bodies will wither and die, and even though we will suffer eventually if we haven't already, and we will continue to, there's something here that doesn't come and go. Yeah. There's something that can't be taken away, and there's something within us that can face all of the fear and terror that we're all going through at the moment with the health crisis in the world. It can look at that and not be fazed. And I think that's what you put us in touch with, Leonie, when we work with your energy techniques, and also Joe with your skill in kinesiology. It's that ability of the body that you often talk about. Joe always talks about harnessing the body's ability to heal itself. And that's what you're doing, isn't it, Leonie? You're harnessing our own energy's ability to heal ourselves. And I believe that kind of mysterious, whatever name we give it, it sort of slips away, that, the Tao, or the, the name that cannot be named. It's that is,
I've been very conscious of me being more than just a body for a long time, but just last year, sort of 6 months ago, I lost my dear old dad. He was 88. He'd had a fabulous life, and he was pretty much well to what, up until the very last couple of months, and he just died gently in his sleep. But I've always had an ability to speak to people who are no longer, personified in their body in this world. I've seen ghosts since the age of 2, when my mum caught me levitating down where our old 12th century home had a staircase that no longer existed. And I would see all the people who had lived there since the day dot. And of course, to me, as a 2-year-old baby, they were floating in midair. And I didn't understand physics. I didn't understand any bodily limitation. And I floated straight after them. There's my friends, they're floating, so can I. My mum caught me, and 2 minutes later, the local vicar was around the house, trying to get rid of the evil demons. But, that's been my understanding of who we really are, not just a body, but a consciousness, an alive intelligence that resides in and around our body when we're here on earth, but carries on eternally, and part of a unity consciousness. I'm getting carried away, but it's lovely to feel that and see that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because our body will always do the very best for us. It will always do that, but so often, and I suppose what I find is that people, they're not really listening to their body, or they're kind of fighting it. And I always think, like, through kinesiology, I'm almost, I suppose, a facilitator, because I'm tapping into what the body is trying to tell that person. It's no surprise what comes up, because that person deep down knows what's going on, but for some reason or whatever, that's kind of got lost, it's got covered up, or they've got distracted. But our body it is there to serve us at its best. And unfortunately, a lot of the time we don't work in unison with the body, or we don't pick up on that. And I think that kind of links in that there's that core that is there to work for us, and it's finding all these different ways through what you do, Leonie, and what you do, Mike, to tap into what's really happening for us, you know. So it's,
I think in the 20th,
it's fascinating.
So sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to kind of cut in on you, but what you were saying resonates so deeply in that we don't see and hear and experience our body in its fullness. And the 21st century has kind of socialized us and educated us to look outside of ourselves. This goes back to what you were saying, Mike, that we don't take responsibility for our own health and well-being. You know, we go to a GP, we go to the hospital, we go to A&E, we pop a pill, and we're told that that's the right thing to do. We live with that as our truth. So, you know, in your work, Joe, you're encouraging people to understand their bodies better. And Mike, you're getting people to let go of their everyday thinking and come to that place of beautiful stillness where they can reconnect with their own wisdom. And it's the same for me in energy medicine. Sometimes all your own thinking, all those truths that are really total bonkers, not truth at all, they blind you. It's like wearing blinkers to what's really going on. So all of us are kind of peeling back the layers of the 21st century, getting through that illusion of what we think is the truth and saying, you've got this. You're not broken. Your energy is in disarray. We can shift your energy together. We can look at, you know, natural ways of eating. We can shift your negative thoughts and your inner critic and get you back to that place of stillness, so that you find your own wisdom to know the right next step. And I love how all our disciplines come together in that way.
Yeah, and I think it's so encouraging, isn't it, and motivating to know that we've got it within. It's there. It's not a mile stretch away from us. It's there. And I often say in kinesiology, when I first see someone, I say, you know, this sort of path that we're going to take is a little bit like peeling an onion. And we're going to peel off the layers and get to what's really, you know, really happening for you. And it's exciting, because I think it's knowing that we've got it, but sometimes we just need some support, some guidance to help us tap into it. I think that's it, isn't it? So
definitely. No, I think it's really it's really helpful to hear your approaches and how they help people. And it's nice for me to talk about this aspect of my life, which I don't, you know, share continuously. I do actually talk a lot about it on Facebook, and I write blogs and things, but I don't record that many videos with other people. So it's really nice to do that. So we talked last week about what we might, you know, say to people watching, that maybe there's one thing, if anybody's, you know, watching this and they're finding it helpful, if I ask you if there was one thing in your sort of toolbox of approaches that we all use, one thing that you could give away to people watching today that they could then take into their life right now, today or tomorrow, and apply and use in their lives, what might it be? So who's going to go first?
Go on, Joe's eager, I can tell. Go for it.
You can see me twitching, can't you?
So Joe, what would you give away for people?
Right, well, it's really hard to think, but this morning I just thought to myself, with everything that's going on and this sort of continual bombardment that's happening, you know, in kinesiology, we look at mind, body and soul and bring it all together. So I thought I'd just share a really simple technique. And I often use it in my practice, but it's great because people can take it away and use it for themselves as well. It's called emotional stress release. And Leonie is nodding. I'm sure she's met it. So all we need to do is, if we take 2 fingers from each hand, and using the 2 fingers, so we get a neutral touch, because each finger, they go positive, negative, positive, negative. So that gives us a neutral touch. And on our forehead, just probably just above our eyes where our pupils sit, you'll find like two little slight indentations, which are called the frontal eminences. And all you need to do is make very light contact. So I always say to people to think about maybe something that is causing them some stress. It could be something from the past, something from the present, something from the future. And just think about that and just hold those points. Just very, very lightly, you just have to make very light contact. And you just hold them for as long as you want to hold them. Sometimes I find when I work with people, when it's been long enough, they might sigh, they might yawn, whatever might happen. And you just hold that. And it's really interesting because when I work with people, when I've been holding that, I'll then say to them, you don't need to tell me any details, but what were you thinking about? And quite often they'll say to me, I don't know. I don't know. Because what we're doing here, we've got the frontal cortex of the brain. And by making that light contact, we help to dissipate the stress and tension that we're feeling. So it's not to say that emotional stress relief will remove that thing that's causing you stress, but what it does is it takes away that kind of protective and that kind of tensing feeling, and it helps to release. And then what that does is it lowers that stress and that tension, which then enables us to think differently about whatever it is that we're working with. So it's interesting because quite often as well, because the thumb is a neutral touch as well. So you may have seen people when they're going through situations sitting like this, which is a natural thing that people do. You can also put the whole palm across the head there as well. And you'll see people like sometimes they go, oh, like that. And it's that sort of automatic response that we do. But I would encourage everyone feeling any stress or anxiety, tension, to just practice that. And you can do it as many times a day as you like. It's great if you're someone who goes to bed with a lot of things jangling around in your brain, struggling to get to sleep. Just think about what it is that's stressing you and just hold there. You will sometimes, when you're holding there very gently, you'll start to feel a bit of a pulse coming through, which is another sign that you may have been holding for long enough. But you can hold for as long as you like, but it's a great little tool to have in the toolbox.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. Leonie.
Well, I'm going to change mine now because
oh no, sorry.
All right. Everything that I do and that you do, Joe, are very, very similar. So I have some very similar energy medicine holds, which are about taking the stress, engaging that kind of that frontal cortex and pulling energy up here so that you can let go. So I'll share a similar one. And we were talking about, in our conversation about a lot of our life, we're on autopilot and we get stuck in patterns. And oftentimes I tell people who come to me when they're in a stuck place, they're suffering in some way, to use that suffering, instead of seeing it as a bad thing, to embrace that pain, that anger, that frustration, that fear, whatever the negative emotion is that you're feeling, and see that as your trigger to do something different, your signpost to break the pattern. And I use an energy medicine intervention, which is actually touching some of the similar points to yours, Joe, but I engage the heel of my hand and press it onto each cheekbone to start off with, because our cheeks are actually the end of our stomach meridian, and it's in our stomach where we feel fear and worry. So that the reason why you get knotted up stomach, or you feel like you're you're about to be sick, or you need to desperately go to the toilet when you're in worry and fear, is your stomach meridian is going like a static haywire, all jaggedy emotion. So by doing this, we're grounding and calming. And if you bring your hands up, we're touching some of those points that Joe was. You can either flat or like this, just gently. So you're grounding and calming. And you're also engaging this part of your third eye. I sometimes ask people to cross their little fingers over that part. And this is getting in touch with your wisdom, You're inviting energy into your frontal cortex. You're pulling energy out of your ancient brain, the amygdala, where your fight, flight, or freeze response is initiated. So it's letting go of stress. It's finding your inner stillness and inviting your inner wisdom to come forward. It's inviting clarity and focus. And just by deep breathing for 90 seconds, it's 90 seconds that is the instinctual, your automatic triggered response. So if you're triggered to be angry or triggered to be fearful, triggered to run, triggered to fight, triggered to freeze and not know what to do, that stress trigger is your time when you hold this position and breathe deeply into your belly, holding on to that breath for as long as you can and exhaling audibly for even longer. Emptying yourself of old thoughts, emptying your mind of a swirling thought storm of chaotic thinking, and finding your calm and your peace. And after 90 seconds, your physiological response to stress is letting go. And this energy hold invites wisdom over chaos, invites love over fear, invites you to step into wise action. And when you let that go, you might find some tingling up in your head, but you'll find that the emotion that you were triggered into is gone, and you're able to step into that wise action and take the baby step to do something different and to break that pattern.
Brilliant.
Thank you. That's very powerful. And I think it's so nice for me, where I come from a world where I'm kind of, if I'm sharing or working with other teachers, it's usually very intellectual based, it's all about concepts and breaking them down and that kind of thing. Whereas movement and contact and touch are so important. I think particularly at the moment when most of us are having to spend more time indoors, most of us are having to spend a lot more time staring at screens, whether it's computer, laptop, telly, tablet, wherever we go, more than we're used to. So it's so nice to for me to be working with the two of you, where the physical relative reality of our bodies and our movement and touch is integral to the work that you do. So my thing, and I keep thinking, what shall I share to give away that's really simple and really straightforward? And I think it would be just a simple instruction to notice what's happening in the present moment. So I talk a lot about present moment awareness. And so simple instruction, if you're feeling overwhelmed, so a really good one at the moment, lots of people are saying to me, oh, it's just overwhelming with the news. I can't keep up, or I'm addicted to the news because, what's going to happen next? I find myself, in quiet moments, or if I've not been near a phone or a television or a radio for an hour or so, I'm thinking something's probably changed. Something big has changed in the world. There's going to be a big, massive new thing, more disruption, more chaos, more collapse. What's it going to be next? And it's either a sort of addiction to the soap opera of that, or fear of how the hell's that going to affect me? What am I going to do? And so this simple instruction to notice what's here in the present moment, to become present, I would just say try and do that as much as possible, and notice what is already awake and free and empty and clear. So there's something, one of the things that comes back to me again and again is there's something here that's not fill in the blank, whatever you're feeling. So if you're feeling there's a feeling or a situation that's causing you trouble, well, then look for what is in your own present experience that's not that. So what is here that's not afraid? What is here that isn't sick? What is here that doesn't die? What is here that, isn't the thing you're afraid of? And it might seem a bit kind of wordy, but actually there is something here. and it's within our own direct experience, and we can recognize it just by becoming quiet, listening to the silence and the sounds in the silence, and noticing that very ordinary, observable experience of silence is experienced here. It's not necessarily just outside of us. It's here. And there's a quality to that silence that is a quality of our own conscious awareness. And the thing that's amazing to me is that it doesn't resist anything. It doesn't have a problem with the sounds. So there's not a car alarm going off at the moment, but if there was, the silence would just allow it. So it allows all the demons, that it allows all the stuff that we as humans, we can't abide it. I can't get sick. Well, life itself doesn't say no to sickness. It's open to it. But the good news is it's also open to letting go of the sickness or letting go of the patterns that don't serve us. So that's a long-winded way of saying, as much as you can, notice what's actually here, because there's usually something more, and it's this dimension that we don't see so much: space around objects, silence around the sounds, and stillness alongside of all the movement.
That's lovely. I love that.
So that's our chat for today. I think we've probably gone on much longer than we thought we would, but it's really good to be in contact with you both this way. I think we've got so much to share in this current time. And I don't know about you, but I'm usually, I think probably Joe, I know you are a bit, and probably you as well, Leonie, but I'm often a little bit shy about saying, I've got something that can help me with this, and putting myself forward. So that's a kind of good thing to do, I think.
Yeah. And it's great to share, just simple tips that can really help people take those, tiny steps every day to move from a place of striving, making life hard, feeling like it's uphill all the time, to just flowing with it. Everything we do is about flowing, just being you, no fight, no resistance, finding the stillness, doing things that ignite our own inner healing and rebalance, bring us back to ourselves. I love that. What a beautiful start to our three-way conversation.
It's just so good to share, isn't it? Because I don't know about you guys, but so often we do these things and they become part of what we do, and you kind of forget that other people don't know about them, or maybe aren't aware or experienced. So it's just lovely just to think, well, if there's just some little tools, techniques, just some things to sort of spur some thoughts, and just realize that we have the power to think differently as well. It can just be great if we can just do that. And I think it's just so important at the moment, because I think lots of people, they'll pick on different things that work for them, and it's great to do that, isn't it? So
Mike, what have we got coming next? What is the next thing that we can be gassing on next week?
Well, next week we can meet again and share something different. We brainstormed some of these ideas to begin with, and I really like the idea of what can we do to get conscious, and what does that do for us? So, earlier in the year, I'd fallen into some old habits of drinking far too much, eating all the wrong things through lockdown, and just stuff that wasn't serving me, that I've been trying to let go of for years. But it was only really once I came back into that state of, look, I actually surrendered and said that I can't do this. I keep trying to stop it and I can't. But there's something here that can, and it's not me really. It's what I'm in. And in that process of surrender led me to working more directly with Joe, with nutrition, correcting my diet, quitting alcohol, losing weight, eating the right things, taking nutritional supplements, all this stuff that are supporting my health and well-being, and they're making me more resilient in this current crisis. So I think, I'd love to explore more the disciplines that you both work in, because I think kinesiology is an incredible tool, but especially because it releases from the body what the body is trying to tell us. And Leonie, I think the work that you do is just life-changing. And I think it would be great to explore what happens when we get conscious and what can we do.
Fabulous. I can't wait. I've got so much to share. And actually, I'm going to give a little teaser now, because Mike, what you said there jolted a thought for me. So becoming conscious, one of the things you figure out is the things that don't serve. You start to see that how they don't serve and why they don't serve and why you've fallen into that trap. But letting go of those old habits is where many of us stumble. So I have a beautiful technique to share that will help you shift the patterning in your brain and energetically to allow you to let go of old habits. So that would be
really good. That's really helpful.
Fascinating. Look forward to it.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm all sort of jiggled up now. I've got loads of energy and I'm all restless. So I might to walk around the block or, do something exciting. It's great to chat to you both again. And for anyone watching, I hope you've enjoyed this. We have rambled on lots and lots and lots. So I'm sure if you're bored, you're gone already. But if you're interested in the work that Jo does, Jo has a website called feedyourwellbeing.co.uk, where you can learn about her work in kinesiology and nutrition. Jo offers a 15-minute consultation. You can talk about any issues you're facing or ways that she might help you. Leonie, you don't have a website yet, but you are available on YouTube and Facebook, aren't you?
That's right, yeah. So you can get me if you type in Dr. Leonie Morris. You'll find lots of freebies, lots of short, sharp energy medicine moves that can help you with all sorts of everyday issues. And I'm on Facebook, and if you type in Forever Young Coaching, everything I do is about living in your fullness, slowing down the aging process, living life joyfully. So it's Forever Young Coaching. Just type that in and hopefully you'll find me, because there's all sorts, literally years worth of coaching. Years worth of coaching in there.
Great. And can I just say, Leonie's been sharing some fantastic videos over the Christmas period on her YouTube page. There are 12 gifts of Christmas that she has recorded. And they're 12 pretty short videos, so if anyone's can't do the whole hour-long stuff, then there are, 7, 10, 12-minute exercises. And I promise you, they're really powerful. And these practices and these approaches to life, they make a difference when they become part of our new way of doing things. So I hope that this has been useful and informative, entertaining, engaging, whatever, for anyone watching. And if you're interested in any of the work that I do, you can visit www.heartofpresence.co.uk, where I'm sharing bits and pieces there. And we'll be back next week, and we'll talk about more approaches and tools and tips that we can share with people about getting conscious and how that can help us make positive changes for ourselves and for the world, our families, our communities, and everything.
Yay.
Brilliant. Look forward to it.
And say goodbye. So what's the doggie's name?
This is Maddie, mad by name, mad by nature.
Maddie's so well behaved.
Gorgeous.
Quietly, so sweet. Is Maddie a boy or a girl?
She's a girl. She's a girl.
Sweet. So nice. Well, have a good day, and thanks for joining, and see you soon.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.